When we think of idleness, we usually just think of downtime, right? A chance to kick back and relax. But what if it's something more? What if those empty moments are actually a kind of spiritual crossroads? Today, we're diving into a source that looks at our free time not as a void, but as a space where some pretty powerful forces are at play. And that's really the core question this material puts on the table. What if your downtime, those moments when you have nothing to do, is actually a spiritual battlefield? The whole argument is that this isn't just empty time. It's a critical space where the choices we make, or maybe the choices we don't make, have some really profound consequences. So, let's dig into the core problem that our source identifies. It argues that idleness is way more than just being bored. It's like an open invitation to what the text calls Shayṭān, which is a term for a tempter or a negative, corrupting influence. Basically, a vacant mind is an unguarded one. This quote right here, it gets straight to the heart of it. I mean, this is really the whole foundation of the argument. A lack of meaningful activity creates a vacuum. And according to this perspective, that vacuum is never empty for long. Something's going to fill it. If you're busy with a purpose, there's simply no room for these negative forces to get a foothold. And the source puts this idea squarely in our modern world. It points to this trend where we're constantly pushed to chase distractions. You know the drill: endless scrolling on social media, binge-watching shows, chasing one fleeting pleasure after another. The argument is that this isn't real rest. It's just a kind of busyness that has no purpose, and it creates the exact kind of idleness that leaves us vulnerable. Now, to really bring this idea to life, the source uses a powerful, timeless story that I'm sure a lot of us grew up with: the fable of the ant and the cricket. It's a simple little tale, but man, it perfectly illustrates the two fundamental paths we can take with our time, one of purpose and one of distraction. I mean, the contrast couldn't be more stark. The ant, it represents purpose and preparation. It works hard, it's thinking about the future, and because of that, it thrives. The cricket, on the other hand, is all about living for that immediate pleasure. It just sings all summer, doesn't worry about responsibilities, and then, well, it faces some serious hardship when winter comes around. And look, this is not some brand new radical idea. As the source itself points out, this kind of wisdom is ancient. The story of the ant and the cricket has been told for generations for a reason, because it holds a fundamental truth about the consequences of our choices: diligence versus distraction. So this brings us to a really key concept: the trap of Shayṭān. It's not like one single bad thing you do, it's more of a gradual process. The source explains it like this: when you're idle, you naturally look for something to entertain yourself. But it's in chasing that empty pleasure that the trap is set. And this can lead to a state where a person becomes, quote, spoiled, and they're just unable to act for their own good or for the good of anyone else. All right, so if idleness is the problem, what's the cure? Well, the source is super clear on this, offering a direct prescription: constructive action. It's all about consciously filling your time with meaningful activity to build up a defense against that negative influence. And the advice here is super practical, really down to earth. It's not about working yourself to exhaustion. It's about engaging in good company, both literally and figuratively. The main instruction is simple: don't stay without doing anything. Instead, go help other people, read something that nourishes your mind, take a walk and think, or assist your parents. Every one of these actions fills your time and your mind with something positive. And the source gets really specific about who this is for, especially calling out youngsters. It encourages them to be hardworking, to help out their families and communities, and to always be learning something that's actually beneficial. The whole idea is that building these positive habits early on is absolutely crucial. Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. The source broadens its perspective and argues that this ancient advice has a special urgency right now. It frames our current era as this time of both darkness and light, a period of really great trial, but also one of immense opportunity. Yeah, the source doesn't pull any punches here. It calls this a very dangerous time. It describes a period where negative influences are incredibly strong and the traps of idleness are everywhere. The clear implication is that the spiritual stakes are just a lot higher right now. But, and this is a huge but, this warning isn't meant to be depressing. Actually, it's the total opposite. The source presents this really fascinating twist. It frames this difficult time as an opportunity for spiritual trading. The idea is kind of like a marketplace. The tougher the environment, the more valuable good deeds become. In this sort of spiritual economy, the returns on positive actions are just massively magnified. So how much are we talking? Well, the source gives this just staggering figure. It says that good deeds in these times can be rewarded 1,000 times more than normal. Now, this number isn't just literal. It's meant to show the immense spiritual value of making the right choice when it's the hardest thing to do. And that brings us right back to why there's so much focus on young people. Why is their good conduct considered so valuable? Well, because they are facing an unprecedented number of distractions and temptations. So, according to the source, choosing a constructive path in this environment is an act of huge spiritual significance, and that makes their positive efforts especially precious. Okay, so let's tie all of this together. What's the core message here? It really all boils down to seeing our time and our attention not just as resources, but as our most valuable, non-renewable currency. See, the real battlefield isn't out there somewhere. It's the internal struggle for your attention and your time. Every single moment is a choice. It's an opportunity to engage in something meaningful, helping, learning, reflecting, or to slip into that trap of empty enjoyment that the source warns us so much about. And that leaves us with one last, really thought-provoking question, drawn directly from the language of our source. The next time you have a moment of downtime with nothing pressing to do, just ask yourself this. In this moment, who or what am I making acquaintance with?